welcome back to the AOS Crowd, your home for everything competitive Warhammer Age of Sigmar tournament reviews, and in short order, maybe a battlescroll review? Today,
Spoilers.
I am joined by Matt. How are we?
Hello. I'm doing fantastic. I'm great. I was offshore. No, I'm not offshore, which is always hype. I'm doing really good.
Hmm.
I am very excited to talk to you today about a fun little tournament I went to.
Hmm.
It's a very nice one. Quinn, why don't you tell me a little bit about it? Where did I go?
Well, apparently, I was told before starting the recording, or during the recording actually, that we're talking about the Siege of York, which happened in York, in the UK. Some people may mistake it for a Magic tournament by how much Magic the Gathering was played, and your accommodation was subpar?
No, it was perfect. It was it was perfect, but it was the floor, which is what we do to get to different places without having to invest too heavy into Warhammer tournaments.
Hmm.
So the tournament in York, Siege of York, a 40-player event, 2-day in York, obviously. I stayed with my friend Peter Twiggy, who also happens to be the TO this event, which is one of the reasons why I went over to support him. And yeah, it was really fun. But the downside was that because there was quite a few of us staying at Twiggy's, um, I had the choice between an airbed and the floor. Not to do things, and I can't sleep on airbeds. I can't do it. I've tried. I can't. So the floor it was.
The more
The floor I
comfortable
can sleep on.
option.
Somehow the floor I can sleep on fine, but airbeds not so much. So I don't know how that works, but it does. Uh, so so we got a fun little trip over. Obviously I was exhausted flying over because obviously the last video that came out was me doing, or the last video before yours, of course, was the one
Yeah.
where did my Nova review. I flew in from Nova on the Friday. I got
Hmm.
into Amsterdam, where I live, or near where I live. So I flew into Amsterdam on the Friday morning. I came home, had a shower, repacked my stuff, and then I flew out at 5 p.m. to York.
Hmm.
So I was quite tired.
Don't forget, we also recorded a video.
Yeah, true. Yeah, which we then recorded the video for before I flew back over. So we had a great time.
Hmm.
So that was fun. Uh, so yeah, so it was a hectic time. It was a little bit jet lagged. But yeah, it was definitely worth going for sure. It's a really, really good event.
Hmm. And something that we've always liked to talk about in our shows up until this point is the effort that some TOs, of course, put in. Twiggy being, I guess, relatively new on the scene with the Siege of York. I think it's one of the first couple of two-dayer events that he's run with his local club, the Fist of York. And yeah, coming
Definitely.
to the tournament, you obviously know Twiggy quite well. Um, how do you think he approached the entire situation?
Yeah, so it was like you say, the first event they'd run as a club. Very, very fun club. If you're in York or you're around York and for some reason you don't know who they are, go find out. They're great guys and really, really good club. They put a lot of effort into getting their own terrain mats and everything, so that they're a self-sustaining tournament is the idea that they have, and it's really, really good. It's one of the best sort of like smaller tournaments. Not small, but 40 players isn't that small, but like the sort of a local tournament as opposed to a consistent tournament that runs like that, like 2-3 times a year, that kind of stuff. So it was really, really good. There was a lot of people playing their first tournament there, which was really, really good to see. It's always fun to see when you get that many people coming out of the woodwork. And that was like due to the really good outreach that they'd done, because I spoke
Hmm.
to Toby quite a lot, obviously, about it. Um, and there was also a lot of the Team Wales guys came down to support it. A lot of the Team England guys came down to support it. Uh,
Hmm.
so there was quite a big disparity. So there was a lot of new players and then a lot of
Hmm.
very good players.
Oh boy.
um, so it was really fun. But to be fair to Peter, he had planned for that and decided to do that.
Okay.
But yeah, no. So it was good.
So how did you do that? Because of course
Yeah.
the usual way tournaments run that most people are used to is the win, draw, loss, and
Yep.
then secondary in the matrix, etc., etc. But how did he sort of approach that?
Yeah, so there was an interesting sort of conversation that kind of went on throughout the weekend, as it always does with this kind of stuff. But effectively, the decision that Twiggy came to was that he ran the tournament on pure differential, which is something we haven't seen for a while. So for those of you who don't know or know a little bit, the kind of way it works is that, like Quinn says, you have win, law, dross, and then a win, law, win, loss, draw.
Mm.
And then in those brackets, then effectively some tournaments do like random in brackets. You can put anyone. Some people do specifically points in brackets. But what Twiggy did was pure differential, with the idea being that it meant that you couldn't drop down that hard.
Mm-hmm.
Was the idea, was that you couldn't drop down that hard and then beat someone who, again, whose first tournament it was, and then jump back up. So it was good to try out. And then the final, then, so they did that all the way through. Then the final round was non-differential. So the final round was
Mm.
you couldn't be a 4-0 playing a 3-1 for a 5-0. Effectively, you had to play
Okay.
the other
Mm-hmm.
4-0s. So the two 4-0s played at the end. So it was differential all the way through except at the end. Which was a cool way, and whether you like it or not, it was fun to do something different, to be honest.
Yeah.
But there's definitely pros and cons. But it was interesting that it was
Mm-hmm.
significantly different. So yeah, so that's kind of how.
Superb. Yeah.
Hmm.
Interesting. So, talking a lot about, of course, preparation, travel, going to the actual tournament. Uh, you mentioned, I think, in the Nova video that you'll be taking Lumineth again. Did you
Yep.
take a variation of the list? What did you adapt, or was it just the
So
same because you're lazy?
so I wanted to be lazy. Okay.
Ah.
I always strive to be as lazy as I can be. So I wanted to take the same list with a slight variation. Okay. And then I had a wonderful thing happen where my luggage didn't come with me, so my
Oh
luggage is still
no.
in Washington. So that was fun. So I didn't get my luggage. So I didn't. Obviously, my army's in my check luggage, so I didn't have my army. Um, so that was fun. So then I had to, like on the day, be like, hey, can we sort of get an army together? Which is not that hard to do, generally speaking,
Mm-hmm.
in the kind of groups that we have.
Yeah.
So I got an army together,
You
and
didn't
I
have to
changed
buy
it.
another Teclis?
I didn't have to buy. I borrowed one this time. I didn't have to buy a fourth Teclis.
Ah,
Although I
okay,
might
okay,
have to buy
okay.
a fourth Teclis for Six Nations. We'll see. But if I play him at Six Nations, but which, yeah, so yeah, wild. So I borrowed an army. I changed
Mm-hmm.
the list up a little bit. So my list, for those of you who haven't seen the last video, my list is Teclis. It was a Banner Blade with my two heroes, and then I had Severith. Sorry, it was the third hero, and then I had 10 Dawnriders. No, sorry, I didn't have Severith. Did I? Oh God, so I didn't have Severith. No, it was the lower list was Teclis, the Wind Mage, 10 Dawnriders, 20 Sentinels,
Yes.
and 2 Foxes. That was it, right? So effectively, what I did was I switched out. I went in two directions. So I changed the list once, and I changed it back for this tournament. So I changed it to, um, it was, yeah. So I did Teclis, a Banner Blade,
Mm-hmm.
just for fun, just to try them out, and then I did Severith and a Fox, and then 10 Windchargers was
Mm-hmm.
effectively. So the change effectively was that the Dawn Riders got downgraded to be Windchargers because I find
Yeah.
that they kind of did the same job, and then one of the Foxes got upgraded to Severith, and
Mm-hmm.
then the Wind Mage got downgraded to a Banner Blade. Was kind of the idea. Um, it plays very similar,
Mm-hmm.
um, but the thing I found with the list generation is that the Dawn Riders generally got, if you couldn't take first and kill something, or
Yeah.
like really go in, the Dawn Riders just got tagged. Someone would just run into them turn one and just try and kill as much as they could. And four Dawn Riders in a unit is basically a useless unit. Is kind of
Mm-hmm.
what I've run
Yeah.
into. Whereas the damage numbers, because Windchargers are 4 up saves these days, the damage
Mm.
numbers kind of translate to, like, if there's 4 Dawn Riders left, there's usually like 2 Windchargers left, and 2 Windchargers are more useful than 4 Dawn Riders
Yeah.
because they can retreat and get out. So that's kind of where my decision making came from there. And I wanted to try out Severus because I hadn't used him yet, and a lot of people are really really hot on Sev, so I wanted to see how he kind of got on
Hmm.
with that. Um, and then yeah, and then apart from that, the list kind of plays the same. The only other tech in there is Bannerblade. Right, I think the Bannerblade, I think Lumineth are too good to have a model like to use something like the Bannerblade because it just
Hmm.
kind of isn't efficient enough. But
Yeah,
it is incredibly fun to have control score 8 foxes. Um, it
that
is
is
it's quite
supremely stupid. Yeah.
yeah. Um, but yeah, but yeah, no. So it was something I really wanted to try and really wanted to just sort of explore whether that is something because control scores are a really weird
Hmm.
unknown quantity of fourth, right? It's kind
Yeah.
of it's not something we've had before in AOS. It's something new to the edition, and like there's a lot of it scattered around. Like Sylvaneth have it, Nighthorn have it with Alinda, and Alinda's seen a lot. And then it was the well, maybe if it is that good, if I can have +3 to everything wholly within a team, which is a big range, is
Hmm.
that something that's worth doing on an army that doesn't play primary presence that much?
Yeah.
So yeah, so it was good to try out. So that's kind of where we ended up with the
Hmm.
list.
Interesting. Going for control score manipulation is not something you often see in lists nowadays, especially since there's so few units I feel like that can actually impose negatives that are threatening to objective presence in some cases. Of course, you've got endless spells like the Beast of Chaos stuff, you've got the occasional ability, but it's not really something that is an active and engaging part of like most of the game. It's sort of just an additional thing that a single unit does basically on top of what you already are using. For example, Indrasta makes control scores unmanipulable for Stormcast within a certain range, or the Tyrant for the Ogres gives them another +3 to their control score on certain in certain edge cases, and just not a lot of lists actively seek out this control score manipulation to take that as an advantage because, as you said, control score 8 foxes that can move 36 inches basically.
Twice. I can move more than
Yeah,
that.
you get the idea.
Yeah, no, exactly right. And it was something I wanted to because there's no investment from it either. It's not like I need to. So the hero sits in the shrine, and
Hmm.
then that shrine has an 18-inch aura of +3 control score. So
Yes,
it was the,
and it can
it is
move.
yeah, the shrine can move. It does move a lot actually. It's quite fun. And one of
So
the
stupid.
other reason, yeah, it's it's when someone hasn't seen it before. It's maybe my favorite like AOS moment is when you
Hmm.
deploy a terrain and then you go, cool, I'm gonna run it. But they're like, and their brain is like, what?
What are you doing?
Or like some AOS players who haven't played in a while, who are like really good players, but have like
Hmm.
come back and haven't seen new, or have heard of New Lumineth, but they haven't seen it, or they've seen like they've they've played against like the sort of the more standardized list, which is
Hmm.
the triple fox Teclis, and that
Yes.
list doesn't use the shrine. So then they're like, yeah, I know what your army does, no problem. And I'm like, cool, no worries, run the shrine. They're like, what the fuck do you mean you're gonna run the shrine? Yeah.
It's
What the
like
heck do you
if
mean?
my
Like
maw
it's
pod grew legs.
yeah, starts running down. You're like, whoa. So it's a bit, it is kind of interesting how that kind of like how that
It's a
works. But
bit of a
the
meme.
it's a great meme. But one of the other reasons I wanted to try it was that I wanted to try and play without the Wind Mage because there were a
Hmm.
few matchups in Nova where I won because of the teleport that it gives me.
Yes.
The teleport was a sort of it's a get out of jail free card, right? As teleports always are. And I really wanted to try and play without that so that I could be a bit more self-limiting on and making sure I'm good enough without it, so that it
Hmm.
feels like I can do this as a bonus as opposed to okay, I need this teleport to go off or I'm in trouble kind of thing. Which
Yes.
so trying to minimize those kind of things, I thought we'd give it a go playing without it effectively.
Hmm. Nice. Well, that's a very detailed view of the list. A couple of interesting changes. I really like the Banner Blade edition. So actually getting to the games. What
Yes.
what happened? How did they go?
Yeah.
What were
So
you disappointed, surprised by? except for running the shrine, of course. But
Right. Yeah. So game one, I played against. So game one, the only Sylvaneth player at the event, a lovely guy called Sam Fisher,
hmm
who was playing his. So he's a big 40k player, but this was his first AOS event, and he was playing Alariel, Six Bows, Balthanos, um, and Gossamids and Jurevs, right, and with Durthu as well, right. So playing against Alariel and Six Bows is
hmm
something I'm relatively comfortable with doing at the best of times,
yes.
specifically because of my background in playing that
hmm
archetype. um, and Sam was great, and he played it really, really well. But he has 3 monsters in his list, and I've got my Fox and I've got Severin. So those they generally don't do that well into it anyway.
yes.
Um, and it was really interesting to try it because I wanted to see. It was interesting to see if because historically Sylvaneth have been a pretty good counter to Lumineth.
hmm yes.
Um, so it's interesting to see if that's the case now, and it kind of can be, but it really is way more dependent on um, like on like with the way matchup goes and like priorities. But
hmm
generally speaking, it's still pretty bad because the woods, it's so easy to get rid of the woods,
Yeah.
and then I don't care. And the bows being a 4-up save now, and like -1 to hit being
hmm
significantly less impactive than +1 save. Like it just there's a lot of things that kind of just didn't add up, um and yeah, there's so much, especially with my access to half move
Yeah.
spell twice on 2 different units and 2 different turns. It meant that like it was very hard for Sam to play the game
Yeah.
basically. So we had a really really great game. And we did a fun thing where I won prior into 3, and that basically meant that the game was over at that point.
hmm
So we locked in our scores, and then we sort of we were like, okay, I'll win it. We'll lock in the score, and then I'll give you the prior. So then we
hmm
played the game out as if he won the rest of the priors. Then, so then we got to
Okay.
you got to
Okay.
actually you got to actually play some Warhammer as opposed to um, sort of get things off. So, but I think he had a good time anyway, which is
Mhm.
always important. So it ended up being a 19-1 win. So it was
Oh boy.
so it was quite yeah, it's quite hard in that matchup because
hmm
you either need to sort of because with that Southern Atlas, you need to be able to like chip away at stuff and like
Yeah.
kind of bounce this, but like the ability to screen and sort of like go in, shoot, come home, not really invest anything, half move on the carries, guaranteed redeploy 4. It means that even though everything running charges, it still can't quite get to 3 away, and
Yeah.
then the guaranteed 4-inch redeploy that you get kind of just mitigates a lot of their like because they're just walking 1 unit or 2 units towards you, and then they
Yeah.
hope they get in. And redeploy kind of really need to stat.
hmm
Um, so yeah, a, a good win for me round one, 19-1 win. Um,
hmm
so then obviously using wins and because round one and two don't really matter from the differential perspective in terms of
Yes.
the pairings. But obviously, I just play someone else who's on around the same points.
hmm
So my round two, I get to play against the returning hero that is Toby Meadows.
Woo!
Um,
Toby.
so Toby's great. I haven't played Toby in a long time. Actually, it's been a
hmm
couple of years since I played Toby. Last time we played was up in Just Play up in Liverpool, and yeah, he won that one. It was I think I was back when I was playing Silvereth, and he was playing Legion of First Prince back when that was an army.
hmm
So this time he was playing Nighthorns.
Ooh.
Um,
Big bads
I
of
was
the edition.
I don't know. I can't really comment on that when I'm playing Lumineth. It's not really allowed. uh, um, but yeah, so we played on Starstrike,
Oh.
which is an incredibly fun mission.
hmm
It's just not when you're playing a mega competitive game. Um, so yeah, really really nice to see Toby. Yeah, he's I haven't seen him in a while
hmm
at a tournament specifically because I've obviously been living in a different country, so that doesn't help. But yeah, so we had a really really great game. Really really sort of tight necked and close. Um, we sort of the way the game kind of started was we both kind of, because I can't take an alpha hit from him and he can't really afford to be close to me because
Mm-hmm.
just because of the thing, and because the battle plan means that there's no point committing that early.
Yeah.
Um, I so Toby won the roll off,
Mm-hmm.
because we're both 2 drops, and decided that yeah, so the it dropped. So Star Strike, right, is great fun because you have to
Yes.
work out. So we both pivoted on opposite sides, and
Mm-hmm.
it dropped on Toby's side.
Ooh.
Um,
Yeah.
um, so Toby decided that um, yeah. So basically, we played it out, and then the game kind of went out. So basically what it came down to was Toby had the primary presence for the whole
Mm-hmm.
of the start of the game, right, and I just couldn't take it
Yeah.
because there's a Nighthaunt army on there, and I don't
Mm-hmm.
have any melee presence. So it was a case of moving up sort of to the mid board on. So
Mm-hmm.
we reversed the way the board goes,
Yeah.
and then I constantly just trying to chip away, half moving whatever was at the front, so that
Mm-hmm.
Toby couldn't charge me.
Yes.
Um, and then Toby played for 2 doubles basically. So if he doubles me into 3 or doubles me into 4, he's
Yeah.
in a very very strong position. But he
Mm-hmm.
doesn't get either of those priorities. Um, so the game kind of stays the way it was going, which meant that eventually I
Mm-hmm.
managed to just about kill enough
Yeah.
to like hold out and win on primary points. I got a little bit lucky early and I killed Reikenor, so
Mm-hmm.
I had a lot of control with the
Ooh. Yeah.
manifestations. So I ended up winning 11-9. But
Nice.
it really came down to there was a lot of, as it always does when you have when you have
Mm-hmm.
2 good players playing sort of they're very good Warhammer and the dancing away and the
Yeah.
control. It came down to, okay, well, if I go in here and I win this part, if I lose the party, it's not that bad. It's still not great, but it's not bad. But if I win it, it's quite good. And then I was
Mm-hmm.
doing the same thing back, and then it was kind of like this. So yeah, it just came down to who could win a double or who could
Mm. Yeah.
maintain the not double, basically. So that's kind of what it came down to in the end. So I won
Especially
11-9.
especially on a battle plan like Star Strike, which is hugely dependent on the dice roll where the objective actually lands.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
you're not only playing around the fact that there's 2 super mobile armies basically in lockdown staring at each other from across the board, but there's also objectives coming down left, right, and center, basically. Wherever
Yeah,
you are going to go, the enemy can basically apply the same pressure because you're bound to the same movement rules and shenanigans that you can deploy. Like foxes, of course, running everywhere. Hex wraiths having insane movement capabilities
yeah,
with
yeah.
run and charge with additional bonuses if you do manage to get them off, and just
And
entirely.
the Dreadblade Harrows as well, teleporting around.
Yes, of
Yeah.
course.
Yep.
Those are so
Um,
annoying.
yeah, yeah, they are so annoying. They're less annoying against my army because if they come anywhere near you, they take a covering fire to the face,
Ah,
and they don't survive that. So they do
yep.
have to be a bit careful with it.
Playing
But yeah,
mostly ogres in Soulblight this
yeah,
edition,
they suck.
I'm not too
They
fussed
suck for
about
faggots.
that.
Like
That's
they really, really, yeah. But yeah, you can't just appear in front of. I've had games where people have just gone, oh, I'll just put 4 in front of, um, or like I'll try and put 4. Like a lot of like you can hide them behind like buildings and stuff like this to kind of
yeah.
mitigate it and stuff like that because you want to apply pressure because you want to tag the sentinels, right? Is the
Yes.
thing.
Mm-hmm.
But having to have it, Nighthaunt don't have that good of a way to eat covering fire generally
Yeah.
because of the way if you're going to tag the sentinels, yeah, basically is kind of what it ends up looking like.
They can
Um,
profit from obscuring as well. Charging around
yeah,
buildings is super awkward in any
yeah,
case.
it
And
is.
of
Yeah,
course, Sentinels don't really care about covering fire because most of the time they're critting on fives anyway.
they are always critting on 5s. In this test, they're always critting on 5s because you don't because you don't have the Dawnriders. You don't
Yeah.
need the -1 hit, so
Mm.
you never put that on. You always have crit 5s and you always have the wind. That's always what you have. You never have anything
Huh.
else. So they're always
Okay.
critting
Okay.
5s. Yeah, yeah. You're not splitting your resources anymore. You don't need to choose. You just
Mm-hmm.
go crit 5 mortals always. Um, because it's incredibly efficient. It changes the maths like incredibly well. It means you're forcing like even on a covering fire with like 2-1 hits, you're still forcing like 15, 16 saves around 1 damage 1, which is just very, very nice consistently to just force through. Yeah, it's just really yeah. Those things just don't like that. Generally speaking, especially because you can't roll out defense covering fire for whatever reason.
This is one of these supreme interactions that we've talked about at length already with Phil in his Blackout video. So
yeah, I mean, my opinion is that I'm always of the choice that there shouldn't be anything in AOS you can't do. That's always what I think is you should always be able to do. You should always have a choice, right?
Yes.
You should always be able to choose between those different things because honestly, I don't mind if my opponent all our defenses are covering fire, because often it's melee armies that are going to be all our defense and covering fires, and losing it's a choice that they have to make, because if they're all our defensing normal shooting, and the odds are that if they're going to be all defensive covering fires, that's two CPs they're using in that turn for anything else. So then my opponent has to choose that maybe they do that, or they because a big counter to shooting armies generally is counter charges. Right? So having the threat of if I'm playing against something like trolls, if they just stand on an objective and have 2 CP, I can't take that objective, right?
Yeah.
Without killing them. But if they don't, if they have 1, and I'm like, oh well, I could play for a double here. I could just pop a fox. I could pop 2 foxes on and take it, and then I'm playing for a double anyway, right? So it gives me the ability to play with things without having to do that. Whereas if they have 2 CP, I obviously can't do that, right? Because counter charge. Yeah. But if they lose that counter charge ability because they spent that CP on covering fire, then sure, that's fine. That's okay. I don't mind that. But it's a choice that they should be able to make. But I don't like it when they can't make choices. When it's just I guess I'll just take it to the chin then. So yeah,
it basically robs you of this interaction and the option to basically
for an incredibly interactive game. It feels like an interactive section. A little bit weird. Sure. But yeah, no. And also like the other thing as well I didn't mention about Star Trek is that it's one of the reasons Star Trek is so weird in the battle plan is because you have to decide whether you're taking the turn, then roll where the objectives come down, which also is like another layer of okay, well if it goes over there I can't get it, but I need it, so we'll try it, and it's a very fun little mini game. But yeah, no, but a really, really, really good game. Very, very close game. Against a very strong army and a very strong player. So yeah, so happy to sort of ride the luck out there a little bit and get that 11-9. And then I was rewarded. Okay.
Oh.
So I've 2-0. Round 3, I get to play Kieran Allen with his Nighthaunt.
Oh boy! Yay!
Yes. So this Nighthaunt's a little bit different. So this Nighthaunt is a little bit more one-dimensional. So it is 30 hex rates and the gash.
Oh.
Yeah. Which is interesting.
Well,
something I honestly hadn't seen that much before. In the same, but it is in the same sort of context and realms as the OBR lists we see with Gash and 30 Horse Riders. It's kind of the same.
Yeah.
A little bit more defensive than offensive though, in terms of the output it has. So that was fun. So it's very hard to deploy against that army.
Yes.
My army. They're very fast because obviously the whole army runs in charges, right?
Yes.
So luckily we're playing a 6 objective mission.
Oh.
We're playing Better Part of Valor. Because if we're playing something like Border War or something like Shifting Objectives or something like this, that becomes quite difficult because I have a very quick time limit put on me to start playing the game. So we play on Better Part of Valor, and I deploy a little. So I sort of castle on one side, and then I leave a fox on the single side, so that I can actually play the game if I get given first, because I'm 2 drops and he's 1 drop.
Yeah.
So Kieran takes first. Makes some pretty impressive charges, generally speaking, across the board. So he made, I think, 1 10-inch charge, 1 no, 1 10-inch charge, 3 9-inch charges, and something like that basically. Like top end of charges, like. Not that dramatic. There's not really anything I could do to mitigate those things, but like he made all the charges to get in, basically. So turn one, everything made it in combat. So my Windchargers got charged by 20 hex wraiths. My Fox got charged by 10 hex wraiths and Nagash, because he'd rolled really well on the run rolls as well.
Yeah.
So like everything kind of got up, which is fine. That happens. Can't really mitigate it that much. So I lost a Fox and 9 Windchargers turn 1. So that was interesting. We did mitigate. So like our covering fire was pretty good because we had the Windchargers shooting to the hex race with no wards, plus 1 hit and wound.
Yes.
That was pretty good. So we killed like 4 on the way in, or 3 or 4 on the way in. So then my turn 1, I killed I think it was something like 14 hex wraiths.
Nice.
My whole army, right? The whole army goes like fights there, Severed's there. We kill 14 hex wraiths and we position, and then I get the opportunity for a double. Okay, I have to take it.
Oh no!
Obviously. And so I killed 10 hex wraiths and I kill 6. I accidentally killed 10 hex wraiths. I didn't want to kill 10, the unit of 10. I wanted to kill like 9, because when you play against Nagash, you just want to kill almost the unit. Especially against hex wraiths where I'm not that bothered by their output. So I was like, okay, if I just kill 9, we're good. And this was a really good example of where I was really glad I had the Windchargers, not the Dawnriders, because the Windchargers, the one Windcharger could retreat out. So I gave him +4 move, and it meant that he could retreat out, go and grab the back objective just on his own. And then Severus did the same thing with another one. So it meant that even though I was completely boxed in, I still managed to score 10-point turn.
Nice. Yeah.
So it was still really good, because if I had a Dawnrider there, the Dawnrider is just there. There's nothing I can do with that.
They're stuck basically.
They're stuck, and they can't retreat because there's walls which they don't like. So I was like, sure, great. And then because of that, I took the double and decided to go for it a little bit, and we went for Nagash.
Oh boy!
So for a whole army into Nagash to try and kill him. And Kieran rolled in a twisting of the dice. Kieran rolled significantly below average on the Sentinel shooting, and then Nagash died.
Oh no!
And then suddenly the game was sort of flipped in favor, effectively. So with that double, I'd killed 22 hex wraiths. No, it wasn't quite that many. It was like 19 hex wraiths and Nagash.
Yeah.
I think in my head it might actually have been 40 hex wraiths. Now I'm thinking about it. So I killed two full units effectively, and Nagash, which is an incredibly good position to be in.
Yeah.
Especially seeing as he hasn't brought back 10 from that, which is really good. So from there, Kieran played it really, really well. He just prioritized, just all he had left went straight into Severith, and the one Windcharger left.
Yeah.
So he doubled me back, got rid of both of those units. So then all I had was Teclis, the Shrine, and the Sentinels, because it means on a 6 mission objective, actually now we're kind of in a similar position in terms of the flexibility and the movement. But then I managed to kind of just ride out that sort of the killing the gash and things like this, and then I ended up winning 13-7 on that.
Nice.
So it was close, obviously, still, but yeah, getting that double and killing the gash over the double meant that I had a lot of control going into, because obviously all those manifestations he'd cast turn 1 that had been set up also went away.
Yeah.
So it's a big power sort of spike in the end there. So
supreme. But in that case, I suppose that the army disparity sort of is mitigated a little bit, because of course, having played round 1 against an opponent that's superbly good, you obviously think about all the tricks that your opponent might pull out if you play that same matchup again, and building that momentum from game 2 to game 3, playing Night Haunt again, obviously helps a lot with like risk assessment, etc., even though the lists themselves are vastly different and play very differently.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it helps you your mental maths as well.
Hmm.
Like I know how much damage 10 hexes are gonna do. I know how much 7 hexes are gonna do. Like I know how much 20 are gonna do, and then I have to like, okay, well I'm hoping 20 don't get in, and then he rolled, yeah, so he auto 6 round 1, and then he rolled a 6 on the run for the other one to
Yeah.
make the charges possible, and then makes them. I was like, okay, well that's not great, but fine. But then it
Hmm.
swings back. Then obviously the important thing is like to be like, okay, well let's swing back, and then we swing back and we kill the gash, and
Yeah.
then yeah, Severith, a Windcharger, and 20 Sentinels and maybe Teclis shooting. I don't remember, but no, I think it was just that is what killed.
Hmm.
Is what killed him. So and then it was the impact mortals from Sev that, or not impact mortals, but his monstrous action is
Yeah.
what got him in the end. So yeah.
Nice. Very
So
nice.
yeah, so that was really good. So 3-0 day one.
Hmm.
Hard fought once, but yeah, we got there. And then I spent the entire region playing Magic. Just playing Commander the whole time. Just having a great time.
Hmm.
Yes, that was really, really fun. Really, really good. A lot of obviously because the crowd there was so good, because I got sort of a lot of the community that I'm sort of involved in was there.
Hmm.
So it was really, really nice. Really good to and then to meet the new people as well. And I hadn't met the Fist of York guys. I hadn't met that many of them before.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was really good to meet those guys and sort of have a good time. And then and then day two.
Hmm.
So I know who I'm going to be playing the day before.
Yes.
I'm playing Tom Blacksall,
Ooh.
who is a fellow team lit and a MAD member from Manchester.
Hmm.
And yeah, I love Tom a lot. Tom's one of my favorite people in the hobby. So so I was very happy to play Tom. So Tom's awesome. He does amazing hobby. Really good gamer. Has very
Hmm.
clearly kind of like doubled down on sort of the playing aspect.
Hmm.
Um, and is was just really, really good to play. So so very excited to play Tom. I haven't played Tom in a while.
Hmm.
I've played him once or twice in tournaments up north when I lived in Manchester, obviously. Um, but yeah, so he's playing Trogs with Squigs, which is, as we found out in Nova,
Yeah.
not good. um, but this time I have Windchargers. So the hope is that I can have a bit more of a push forward presence
Hmm.
and come back home basically.
Yeah.
I'm playing the same mission that I played in Nova, so it's Border War again.
Oh
It's not
God.
great at all. um,
You're
but
just
yeah,
having a
so
deja vu.
yeah, I'm like, okay, great. So yeah, so it was so I gave away first again. I
Hmm.
won the roll off this time. Gave away first. Um, uh, and Tom went for a ballsy play that paid off.
Oh
So
boy.
Tom just went for a teleport 9-inch charge with some squigs still buffed up to go into you, which I'd screened for, but I don't have, like my army does not have screens, so the
Yeah.
screens are effectively the Windchargers.
Oh God, no.
uh,
The unit you
but obviously,
brought specifically
yeah,
for this purpose.
it's mega annoying. But obviously I kind of cast 5 awards, so I was a lot tankier than I should have been.
Yes.
So I lost 5 Windchargers basically. Which is half the output of that unit, which isn't great. And then from there, I did the same thing that I did against Gavin in Nova, which is that I just have effectively I have the shrine going half move
Mm-hmm.
on the trogs and going, you don't get to play the game, and then
Yes.
redeploying away. So I'm just going, cool. So you're half moving all the time. There's like no kind of so I'm kind of like mitigating the movement speed of everything
Mm-hmm.
and trying to just like dance around. So I killed the shrine, I killed
Yes.
all the squigs, and
Mm-hmm.
then I, for the life of me, cannot kill trolls. Right? I don't get it because I put it like, so like there's like a unit of 6 trolls, and I'm like they're out of the moon, and I'm like, right, okay, it's my chance. I've been shooting them for 3 turns and nothing's happened. Okay, I'm like dancing around them, turn one, I scored a 10-point turn because my turn one tactic was to kill because I couldn't do any conventional ones.
Yeah.
I kind of was like, well, I'll risk one. So his back objective, because he had 6 trolls, and then 6 trolls kind of here. But his back objective was full of squigs and the 2 heroes, Scragrot and
Yeah.
the other hero, right? So my turn one tactic was to kill the squig boss in combat. That was my turn one tactic.
Oh boy.
And I achieved it. So because we killed all the squigs, and then because the only way I was going to get any points, because I can't score these objectives on the side. There's 6 trolls. I can't.
No way.
So I shot off all the squigs with sentinels,
Mm.
and then
As you should.
and a fox, and then charged the squig boss with Severith, and then killed him, and then was like perfect. Then took his home objective, so that's gonna be a 10 point. But yeah, and then turn 2, I went for so turn 2, his tactic was to kill Severith, basically based on that.
Yeah.
And I half moved the unit, okay, in my turn, kind of half moved. So Tom needed an 11-inch charge. This was a game of like big charges because I was half moving everything, and Tom didn't really have. Tom still needed to try for these things, right?
Yeah.
So he had. It wasn't just one of. He had an 11-inch charge over here. He had like a 10-inch charge over here, and like an 11-inch charge over here. Because I couldn't redeploy everywhere, and I was like half moving, controlling making sure that things were. So there was the odds are he was going to get one of them somewhere, but just where that was kind of change things, because if he made one down the bottom, he could like get into the shrine and then would be set up to go into the sentinels.
Yeah.
If he made one the other way, it would be into the Windchargers that were left. So there was constant things, right? Like it's but Tom's tactic was to kill Severith, and he had an 11-inch charge, and he boxcast, which meant that not only did he get a huge turn, it also meant that if he hadn't have done that, I would have had his home objective still, because it was just Scragrot and things. And then in my turn, I would have killed Scragrot and just had him on there. So that kind of made the game very difficult from that point on, because then he has 666, and I can't really do anything. So and this was the turn where the shrine dropped, not the shrine, the moon dropped off, and I'd killed the shrine. So I was like, right, let's absolutely demolish this unit of trolls. I was like, let's do it. Let's lock it in. We're going to smash these guys off. They don't have +1 save. And I killed with 20 sentinels, 5 Windchargers, Teclis, everything. I killed 2 trolls. And I was like, it's totally karma, because I've killed everything like simply with like sentinels before. So like, it's fine. But like, I was like, okay.
That's average.
Yeah. I was like, it is. That's the problem as well. It's like, it's not even that like I rolled bad or like Tom rolled good. It's just this voice. So that was like, okay. I was like, Jesus, all right, fine. So then I had to like really things, and basically eventually that kind of things. And then I had and then turn 5, I was like, okay, if I do this like mega play where I like run Teclis and then like he lives 2 turns of combat, maybe I could get like close. And it just came ridiculous, basically. Trying to play this, trying to like recover from being these points down effective. So so I ended up losing 12-8.
Okay.
Basically, so a very close game, and Tom played it perfectly. Basically, played the risks, got and needed to get them to sort of the things like he definitely had to do that. He can't sit back, because I will, because as we discovered that, because I had outs to play for. So he played really well, and then eventually, so we took an 8-12 loss. So both of my main losses on this army have been to trolls.
Oh boy.
Which is great fun. But not too. I wasn't too disappointed, because 12-8 is still fine. Like, especially because I always think in teams environments, right? So like 12-8 is mega okay. So really, and like I said, I got to play against Tom, and Tom's also at Six Nations now.
For Northern Ireland.
For Northern Ireland, yeah. Because he was the coach, but is now subbing in, which is amazing. It's going to be really, really good to see Tom out there. so that'll be really good. Hopefully, we don't get a rematch in the nicest way from a matchup perspective. But yeah, no,
Mhm.
really, really enjoyed playing against Tom, and it meant that I was 3-1 then.
Mhm.
And then, so round 5, I got an absolutely chaotic matchup because we got a mirror.
Oh no!
um, so yeah, so we got
What
a mirror
was it? A
match.
battle plan with very few objectives?
It was a battle with 4 objectives.
Okay, that's
Uh,
manageable. If it were
yeah.
6, I would go into that matchup with like an aspirin at hand because that would be like
Trying to
the
like dance around.
personification of a headache.
Yeah, honestly.
When you look it up in a dictionary, it says Lumineth mirror match on 6 objectives.
Honestly, it's kind of like what's happening. So there was a few differences in the list though. So he didn't have Teclis, was the main one.
Uh-huh. Okay,
So
yeah.
he had 3 foxes, the twins, 2 units of 10 wardens, 20 sentinels.
Do love the
Yeah, that was it.
twins.
Yes. So that was the variation of the list. It was
Mm-hmm.
much more. It was more bodies effectively than I
Yeah.
had. But so um, so I kind of gambled a bit on. I set up in a way that the sentinels were in the forest. His sentinels were also in the forest. So I
Yes.
can't take first shoot of it. So I won the roll off. Right, it's the
Yeah.
first. So I measured the ranges and stuff like this, and I measured that the only thing I could basically lose that turn was Teclis.
Yeah.
So I was like, so if I give him first, everything has to commit to me. It needs combat as well,
Mm-hmm.
and then it'll kill the boxes need to stay there is the important thing,
Yeah.
and then he'll kill Teclis.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, and that's if he gets both power of his off.
Yeah.
Right? And he doesn't automatically do that because he's not Teclis, right? So I was like,
Exactly.
okay, fine. I don't mind that risk. So I did that, and then because if Teclis dies, it's not great, obviously,
Mm-hmm.
but he trades at least 2 foxes for it because I'll kill 2 foxes back in my turn,
Yeah.
and then the end game is foxes, not anything else.
Mm-hmm.
Generally speaking. So I was like, sure. So okay, cool, it's fine. So he went in, and then he didn't kill Teclis,
Oh
basically.
boy.
So he went in, and then Severith whiffed, and he didn't kill Teclis, and then it was rough because then the foxes die. So 3
Mm-hmm.
foxes died then immediately,
Yeah.
and then for nothing. um, so then all 3 foxes came in, had to stay, had to try and fight through Teclis, didn't kill him. And then with Teclis and then Shackles and then the Sentinels, um, and then like the Windchargers obviously just didn't
Mm.
fox. There's no wards.
Yeah.
Yeah, like just
Good
that was
trade.
gone, and I hadn't moved. Importantly, um, so I'm still in the castle, and I now have I have my 2 foxes, and I have like I'd lost a couple of Windchargers to the Sentinels, so I'd lost like 3 or 4 to the
Yeah.
Sentinels, but like the scheme of
Negligible.
things, yeah. And then in the same thing because Severith had gone here, and then obviously I get my second movement phase.
Mm-hmm.
I also tagged the Sentinels,
Yeah.
which he tagged mine as well in his turn 1.
Yeah.
But that doesn't matter when you have foxes to shoot off that fox and then shoot the other. Like,
Yeah.
so it was rough. So his Sentinels were tagged. He basically had 20 wardens and the twins who were in the shrine and the Caligrave left after 2
Mm-hmm.
and then he won the prio, took it, and like we played the game and we played very well, and he did well, but basically from that point there's no coming back. Like I played against Josh.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I mentioned actually. So I played Josh Bunning, who I know through friends,
Mm-hmm.
but I'd never met him before. Very very lovely guy. Very cheery,
Mm-hmm.
and strong personality. So it was really nice to play Josh. But basically, as soon as he didn't kill Teclis, it was very rough. It's absolutely what he should do, and we talked about it in the game as well. Like he has to.
Yeah.
Because I'd screened one side with. So basically, I screened with Severith and the Sentinels, which I know sounds
Mm-hmm.
unhinged, right? But it means that my fox can't die, is what it
Yeah.
means. And my fox is incredibly good into other foxes.
Mm-hmm.
because the Rend 3 damage 3 into monsters, which
Yes.
boxes are.
For whatever reason.
Yeah, yeah, I don't know. But because Severith was on the flank, and because of the way the shrine and Severith was set up, was that he couldn't get within 9 of Severith. You could get within 12 of Severith, but you can't see him. So you have to be within 9 of Severith. So he could only shoot. His only option was to kill Severith or try and kill the Windchargers, which is suboptimal because I don't care.
Both are
So he
choices
had
that
to
you
try
don't necessarily want to make. It's
Yeah, exactly. But
as you say,
Teclis
suboptimal.
Teclis is the best option of those. Like killing Teclis does feel really good because you should kill him, or you should do a lot of damage to him pretty consistently. But as soon as he doesn't, then it's very, very rough. So we ended up winning 18-2.
Oh, nice.
So a big win there. Which just makes sense with how the game kind of went. Really loved that.
So final standing 4-1.
So final standing 4-1. We finished fourth in the end.
Nice. Just short of the podium.
Yeah, that's fine. That's okay. We don't mind that. So Toby got third. So Toby
nice.
So Toby got third, and then who got first and second? So it was Philip Springle got first with his Fire Slayers Chaos. Loved that list. Huge fan of that.
Super fun.
Yeah. And then Matt Goldsborough got second. With his each list. So yeah.
Nice.
So it was really good. So yeah, it was really, really good tournament. And then I stayed on Twiggy's floor once more. On the third night, right? So on the Sunday, because I was the only one staying, I got the sofa.
Nice.
So that was
an upgrade.
So that was great. And then obviously I flew home on the Monday then. So really, really good tournament.
Nice.
Was very happy with how the list performed. I've changed the list again to a better version, I think. It feels like the most optimal version of the list. I really did really like it. I much preferred the Windchargers to Dawnriders, though, I have to say. I know people absolutely love the Dawnriders, but I just find that they go in once, and if you don't delete the world,
they're done.
Out the game.
Yeah.
And you just have to. You oftentimes you just have to take first, even if you don't want to. You're like, well, I need to, otherwise. Like if I take first, I tag this suboptimal thing, but if I don't, then I get tagged by that suboptimal thing. So I don't love it.
It's almost like Blood Knights, and all of the cavalry units are in the game at the minute. Hex Wraiths, of course, don't suffer as much as other units because they got retreat and charge, can always rack up the bonus, and they are ethereal with the 5-up ward, so who cares? But most of the cavalry units really need to commit to a single unit. If they don't lift it immediately, then their effectiveness is basically near zero.
Yeah, especially if you don't have a way, like you say, a way to retreat and charge. It's one of the reasons I quite like the Windchargers, is because you don't because you get the same amount of. It's the same thing I was just saying with the bow hunters, right? It's that I only need if the Dawnriders go in to have an average turn where you've put crit 5, where you've invested the crit 5 mortals into them, like the damage output that I would get from the Sentinels is already with crit 5s is already about the same as the Dawnriders will do throughout the game, just by having crit 5 mortals on them.
Yeah.
So then the Windchargers is effectively just bonus damage that I just have.
Yeah.
I don't care. Like if you kill nine Windchargers, it looks bad, but it's the same as if you killed 9 Dawnriders, from an objective perspective, right? So I'm like, well, so if that one Windcharger does 4 damage for the rest of the game, that's 4 damage that I wouldn't have otherwise. It's kind of how I look at it. So, and in some matchups, those Windchargers are untouchable.
Because super mobility.
So far. And they make some matchups incredibly versatile. Like if you're playing against Callus and Toll, if you're playing against if you see things like Foxes, or you see things like like Soul Blight, stuff like this, stuff like
Anything
Graveguard,
with a
right?
ward, really.
Anything that uses that ward to like build up that sturdiness, like Graveguard are like actually quite tanky because they're a 4 save 5 ward, right? But
Yeah.
suddenly, if you're like, if I've got 20 sentinels shooting one unit and you've got okay, all defense, and I go cool, now I've got like 31 shots, 2s and 3s, rem 1 damage 1.
The wards.
You're like because they get the 5 ward road, so it's like you really can like be unfortunate, and then because they run away again,
you can't really catch them.
No, and you can do the same that you can do, and like power through is that army's best friend, but that doesn't really change. It's the same with the Dawnriders. You just always power through with something. So yeah, so I do really like those. That is very fun. So we've got 3 losses with the list now in tournaments,
which is acceptable, right?
Yeah, which is fine. Like you can't expect to do that well with always, especially with lists, especially when you're going to run into the top 3 armies right now, which are just Lumineth and Lumineth and Nighthorns. Or maybe not the best armies, but they're the most rock paper scissors armies I find anyway.
Yeah.
So we've lost the Trogs twice, and then we lost to obviously Tongguan in the mirror.
Yeah.
Game. So yeah.
Pretty good.
So yeah, like fine in the scheme of things. Like mega good. Yeah.
Very nice. Well, that I think wraps it about up for the tournament review. Anything to add before we leave off regarding CG Org? Any contacts or such? If people want to get involved in the tournament.
Yeah, so 100%. I think it's definitely going to be an annual thing. I think from what I spoke to Peter about. So definitely, but like, so if you're in the York area, it's really good event. Yeah, so I'm sure Twiggy will we'll put the link to his Twitter.
Yes, I will link the Twigster.
Yeah, and then yeah, if you're interested or you're in York and you don't know what to message, just message. Yeah, no, and then I think that's it for York. And then I don't know what I've got upcoming now tournaments wise.
You're on a bit of a break until Six Nations, right?
I'm never on a break. That doesn't really.
Never ever stops thinking about Warhammer.
No, I was supposed to go and do a job offshore, but that didn't. That kind of like fizzled. So we might do something in the next couple of weekends while I'm sort of home and alive before Six Nations. Obviously, we're expecting a battlescroll screw soon. That's confirmed by Games Workshop's website now. So we know we're getting a battlescroll soon. Maybe this week, maybe next week, maybe week after.
Yeah.
Who knows? Honestly.
As far as we're concerned, we can't trust any release schedule posted by Games Workshop.
I mean, yeah, we've
after we received the December battlescroll in February, March.
I think it was March, yeah. And then it'll be Atlanta after that.
World Championships of Warhammer.
Yeah, the World Championships of Warhammer will be the next one. I don't know. I think is it maybe only me that's going?
Yes, as far as I'm concerned, it is just you. Phil said he wasn't really keen to go for reasons he will probably.
Yeah. No, for sure.
Yeah. I didn't get a golden ticket.
There's still time. There's still time, Quinn. You're in Austria. There's like one tournament you can do.
No. I'm not risking that. It's a huge investment. But yeah.
It very much is. Yeah. No.
Obviously, got a couple of videos planned at least. We will be going into the battlescroll when it releases. That might be off-scheduled release because we always release our videos Friday evening with the thumbnails posted Thursday evening on our Twitter. I put a lot of effort into the thumbnails and I am amazed every time because I feel like I'm improving constantly. And I'm moving into a less clickbaity sort of style. Or more clickbaity?
Yeah.
Who knows?
I feel more. I don't know. It felt like they were less for a minute and then they went more, I feel. But I don't know if that's a bad thing.
Well, we'll see. But yeah, there's a couple of things coming up. As we've said, the battlescroll will be releasing soon-ish, possibly, maybe, who knows? Only the Chaos Gods know the exact date. And even they're not reliable. So Yeah, I'll be going to a tournament in 2 weeks' time. It's the End Times GT in Brno in the Czech Republic. It's a 60-player 2-day event, so I'm really keen on going. I'm not sure what I'm going to take, though. I've got a huge unpainted Soulblight lot that's just sitting there, and there's no, like, painting requirement. So I might just punch out.
You can slap,
maybe.
You can slap drop them easy.
No,
Like
I'll play with gray miniatures. I don't care. Like.
I respect it.
It'll either be a Soulblight with the new combination variation of list, or ogres, full painted.
That's fair.
But we'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see. So yeah, we'll be talking about that. We might be doing a Skaven book review. Not a lot has really changed since the index cards, but I think it might be worth discussing with Phil, since he's played them at the beginning of the edition and he was really keen on running around with a whole boatload of Plague Monks, which I still don't get why they're good, but I don't care anymore.
They were.
Yeah, now they're not for whatever reason. I've not realized what the change is or how it's affected that particular style.
It's the fact that the pylon has to be in combat now. That's it's still okay, but like yeah. So the pylon that they did at the end of every turn, which is any turn, was not in combat. So you could pylon, so you could like tag stuff out of turn basically.
I see.
So if you were 3 away, and you could just pylon at the end of the turn and do D3 models, and you could do that to 3 units. So against Nighthorn, it was actually quite good because like you could just like 3d3. It was like kind of good, but now to be in combat, it's a bit worse, a bit less tech, but
yeah. Of course, there are new heroes, Physics Scour, and of course a new Littlefoot hero. I'm not sure if there's anything else that has really changed. I think it's just a couple of clarifications, and
there's a few like you get access to covering fire for free.
There we go.
With the engineer now stuff. There's like a few bits and bobs to chat about if we wanted to.
Sure. We'll see if we can turn that into a video that's worth watching. In any other case, that's about it.
Awesome.
Just a reminder, there is a couple of reviews still up from the last couple of weeks. So we're trying to do videos more consistently now. We've got Blackout with Phil, we've got Nova with Matt, and we've got the Tales in the Wood with myself, and now the Siege of York. There's 1 or 2 things planned. Looking at the calendar in general, there might be more content coming soon in more bulk form. We might have to schedule 2 videos a week, but we're not getting ahead of ourselves. So until that time does arrive, guys, thank you so much for watching. Leave a like, comment if you want to correct us in any rules we got wrong, because apparently that's a trend.
Fine, honestly. Like,
we don't know everything. We're just playing the game. And yeah. Remember, guys, you get no extra points for being a